My name is Mark, and for the past 38 years, I've called a quiet mountain town my home. Nestled among the towering pines and rolling hills, it's a place where time seems to move a little slower, and the worries of the world feel far away. As a forestry officer, I've spent my days tending to the forest, ensuring it remains healthy and vibrant. It's a job I love, a job that has brought me a deep sense of peace and connection to nature. Laura, my wife of 12 years, is my partner in this serene life. At 35, she's the love of my life and the mother of our 8-year-old daughter, Lily. Together, we've built a cozy cabin that sits at the edge of the forest, a place filled with laughter, love, and a shared appreciation for the simple things in life. Our days are filled with the rustling of leaves, the chirping of birds, and the comforting crackle of the fireplace at night. We met in college. I was studying forestry, and she was majoring in environmental science. Our paths crossed during a field trip, and it wasn't long before we discovered our mutual love for nature. Laura was the first person I'd met who shared my passion for the outdoors, and I was captivated by her enthusiasm and kindness. We started dating, and 3 years later we got married. It was a simple ceremony in the forest, surrounded by our closest friends and family. Laura and I decided to make our home in this quiet mountain town. We wanted to raise our family away from the chaos of the city, where Lily could grow up surrounded by nature. Our cabin became our sanctuary, a place where we could escape the demands of the outside world and just be ourselves. Laura worked part-time as a freelance graphic designer, which allowed her to balance her career with caring for Lily. Every morning, I'd wake up to the smell of freshly brewed coffee and the sight of Laura and Lily playing together in the living room. Our home was filled with warmth and love, and I couldn't imagine a happier life. After breakfast, I'd head out to the forest, my trusty dog Max by my side. Max, a loyal Labrador retriever, was always eager to accompany me on my rounds. Together, we'd spend the day inspecting the trails, checking on the wildlife, and ensuring that everything was in order. In the evenings, Laura and I would sit on the porch, watching the sunset and talking about our day. Lily would often join us, her laughter filling the air as she chased Max around the yard. These moments were the highlight of my day, a reminder of how blessed I was to have such a loving family. Our weekends were spent exploring the forest, having picnics by the lake, and teaching Lily about the wonders of nature. Laura and I shared a deep bond, one that seemed unbreakable. We were partners in every sense of the word, supporting each other through the ups and downs of life. But as the years went by, I began to notice small changes in Laura. She seemed more preoccupied, often lost in thought. I chalked it up to the pressures of work and parenting, never suspecting that something more sinister was lurking beneath the surface. Our once frequent conversations about our dreams and aspirations became rare, replaced by a growing sense of distance. Despite these changes, I held on to the belief that our love was strong enough to weather any storm. Little did I know, the foundation of our marriage was beginning to crumble, and my peaceful life was about to be turned upside down. As the months passed, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Laura had become distant, her once warm and inviting demeanor replaced by a cold, impenetrable wall. She started spending more time on her phone, her face illuminated by the glow of the screen late into the night. There were whispered conversations, hurried texts, and a growing sense of secrecy that seemed to hang over her like a cloud. Laura had always been an open book. We shared everything, our thoughts, our dreams, our fears. But now she was pulling away, and I had no idea why. She began taking long walks alone, offering vague explanations that left me feeling uneasy and unsettled. "Just need some fresh air," she'd say, avoiding my eyes. "I've got a lot on my mind." I tried to dismiss my suspicions, telling myself that it was just a rough patch. Every marriage has them, right? But the more I tried to convince myself, the more the nagging doubt grew. There were nights when I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering what had changed. Our once happy home now felt like a place of secrets and lies. One evening, after putting Lily to bed, I decided to confront Laura about her behavior. I needed to know what was going on, even if the truth was painful. "Laura," I began, trying to keep my voice steady, "we need to talk." She looked up from her phone, her expression wary. "About what?" "About us," I said, sitting down next to her. "You've been so distant lately. I feel like you're hiding something from me." Laura sighed, setting her phone aside. Mark, it's just stress. Work has been overwhelming and I need some time alone to clear my head. Her words did little to ease my mind. It's more than that, I insisted. You've been secretive, spending more time on your phone, going for walks alone. It doesn't feel right. Laura's eyes flashed with irritation. You're overreacting. Everyone needs some space now and then. But the excuses didn't add up. I knew Laura, and this wasn't like her. The nagging feeling in my gut told me that there was more to the story, something she wasn't telling me. Determined to uncover the truth, I decided to take matters into my own hands. The next morning, Laura left her phone unattended while she took a shower. My heart pounded as I picked it up, hesitating for a moment before unlocking it. I felt a pang of guilt, but my need to know the truth outweighed everything else. As I scrolled through her messages, I noticed a name that had been appearing more frequently. Ben. I didn't recognize the name, and their conversation seemed casual at first glance. But there was an intimacy in their words that made my stomach churn. My hands shook as I read messages about meeting up, shared jokes, and late-night texts filled with smiley faces. I felt a cold sweat break out on my forehead. Who was this Ben, and why was Laura spending so much time talking to him? My mind raced with possibilities, each one more painful than the last. Unable to bear it any longer, I decided to follow Laura the next time she went for one of her long walks. I needed to know where she was going and who she was meeting. The sense of betrayal gnawed at me, but I had to be sure. The days dragged by, each one filled with a growing sense of dread. I watched Laura carefully, noting every time she picked up her phone, every time she left the house. I pretended everything was normal, but inside, I was unraveling. Finally, the opportunity came. One crisp afternoon, Laura announced that she was going for a walk. I'll be back in a couple of hours, she said, grabbing her coat. I nodded, forcing a smile. Take your time. As soon as she was out of sight, I grabbed my jacket and followed her. The forest, usually a place of solace and comfort, felt ominous as I navigated the winding trails. I kept a safe distance, my anxiety surging with every step. Laura's usual path led deeper into the woods, but today she took a different trail. My pulse quickened as I trailed her, my mind racing with questions and fears. After what felt like an eternity, Laura arrived at a secluded cabin, one I had never seen before. I watched from a distance as she approached the door and knocked. A man I didn't recognize let her in, and they greeted each other with a hug. Their familiarity stung like a slap to the face. Hidden behind a tree, I felt a mix of anger and heartbreak. My worst fears were being confirmed. I knew I needed proof, something concrete to confirm my suspicions. With shaking hands, I took out my phone and discreetly captured photos and videos of their interaction. Each click of the shutter felt like a betrayal, but I knew it was necessary. As I watched them through the window, I saw Laura and the man sitting close together, talking and laughing intimately. They shared smiles and touches that were once reserved for me. The sight of them together, so comfortable and familiar, felt like a knife to the heart. Laura's laughter, which once filled our home with joy, now felt like a mockery. I felt a wave of nausea as I continued to document their behavior, my hands trembling. The man, with his easy smile and casual demeanor, seemed to be everything Laura had been missing in our life. I felt a surge of jealousy and anger, but also a deep sense of betrayal. I waited outside the cabin, my mind swirling with emotions. Part of me wanted to burst in and confront them, but I knew I needed to stay calm. I needed more evidence, something undeniable. So I stayed hidden, watching and waiting. After a while, Laura and the man stepped outside. They shared a lingering hug, and he kissed her on the cheek. My heart shattered as I captured the moment on video. Laura smiled at him, a smile I hadn't seen in months. As they said their goodbyes and Laura headed back towards the trail, I slipped away, my mind racing. I felt a mixture of relief and dread. I had the proof I needed, but now I had to confront Laura. The walk back to our cabin felt like a blur. My thoughts were consumed with anger, sadness, and a sense of betrayal that cut deep. The peaceful life we had built was crumbling, and I needed to know why. When I reached our cabin, I took a moment to compose myself. I couldn't let my emotions get the better of me. I had to stay strong for Lily. I replayed the images and videos I had captured, each one a painful reminder of Laura's betrayal. I felt a surge of determination. I needed to confront her, to demand the truth. The peaceful life we had built was falling apart, and I needed to know why. As I waited for Laura to return, I thought about Lily. She was our world, our reason for everything. I couldn't let this betrayal destroy her happiness. I needed to protect her, to ensure she felt loved and secure. The sound of footsteps on the porch pulled me from my thoughts. Laura was back. My heart pounded as she opened the door and stepped inside. She looked up and froze when she saw me standing there, my face a mask of controlled anger. "Mark," she said, her voice shaky. "What are you doing here?" I took a deep breath, my hands clenched into fists. "We need to talk, Laura, now." She set her coat down, her eyes darting around nervously. "About what?" "About where you just were," I said, my voice trembling with anger and hurt. "And who you were with." Laura's face flushed. "Mark, it's not what you think." I pulled out my phone and showed her the photos and videos I had taken. "Explain this, then." Her eyes widened in shock as she looked at the evidence. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. Finally, she sat down on the couch, her head in her hands. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I never meant for you to find out like this." My heart pounded in my chest. "So it's true? You've been seeing someone else?" Laura nodded, tears streaming down her face. "His name is Ben. We met a few months ago. It started as just a friendship, but it turned into something more." "Why, Laura?" I demanded, my voice rising. "Why would you do this to us? To Lily?" She looked up at me, her eyes filled with pain. "I don't know. I was feeling so lonely and disconnected. You were always so busy with work, and I needed someone to talk to. Ben was there for me. We've always talked about everything," I said, my voice breaking. "Why didn't you come to me?" Laura shook her head. "I tried, but it felt like you were always too busy or too tired. I didn't want to burden you with my problems." "So you turned to someone else?" I asked, the hurt evident in my voice. "You betrayed me, Laura. You betrayed our family." She reached out to me, but I pulled away. "Please, Mark, let me explain," she pleaded. "It was a mistake. I know that now. I love you and Lily more than anything. I never wanted to hurt you." "It's too late for that," I said, my voice cold. "You already have." The silence that followed was deafening. I could hear my own heart beating, the sound of my breath coming in short, ragged gasps. Laura's sobs filled the room, but I felt numb, unable to process the depth of her betrayal. "I think you should leave," I said finally, my voice trembling. "I need time to think." Laura looked up at me, her eyes wide with fear. "Mark, please don't do this. We can work through this, for Lily's sake." But I couldn't look at her. I couldn't bear the sight of the woman I loved, the woman who had betrayed me so deeply. "Just go," I said, turning away. Laura stood up, her movements slow and hesitant. She grabbed her coat and walked to the door, pausing for a moment as if hoping I would call her back. But I couldn't, not now. As the door closed behind her, I collapsed onto the couch, my body shaking with sobs. The life we had built together, the love we had shared, was shattered. I felt a wave of despair wash over me, the weight of her betrayal crushing me. I sat there for what felt like hours, my mind racing with thoughts and questions. How had we come to this? What had gone so wrong? I thought about Lily, about how this would affect her. She was the light of our lives, the reason we had built this home together. I knew I had to protect her, to make sure she felt loved and secure despite the chaos that had entered our lives. As I sat there, I felt a surge of determination. I couldn't let this destroy me. I had to stay strong for Lily. I wiped my tears away, took a deep breath, and began to think about the next steps. The road ahead was uncertain and filled with pain, but I knew one thing for sure. I had to keep moving forward, for Lily's sake and for my own. The hours passed slowly after Laura left. I tried to keep myself busy, but my mind kept returning to the images of her and Ben in that cabin. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them together, their intimacy a painful reminder of her betrayal. I knew I couldn't avoid confronting her forever, but I needed time to gather my thoughts, to decide how to approach the situation. The next day I called my lawyer. "I need to talk to you about starting divorce proceedings," I said, my voice steady but filled with resolve. We set up a meeting for later in the week. With that done, I felt a small sense of relief. I was taking steps to protect myself and Lily, to move forward from this painful chapter. That evening, Laura came back to the cabin, I was sitting in the living room waiting for her. She walked in slowly, her eyes red from crying. "Mark," she began, her voice trembling. "We need to talk." I nodded, motioning for her to sit. "Yes, we do." She sat down, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. "I know you must hate me right now," she said softly. "I can't even begin to tell you how sorry I am." "Why, Laura?" I asked, my voice breaking. "Why did you do it?" She took a deep breath, tears streaming down her face. "I felt so alone, Mark. You were always busy with work, and I felt like you didn't have time for me anymore. Ben was there when I needed someone to talk to." I shook my head, the anger and hurt bubbling up inside me. "So you turned to him? You thought betraying me was the answer?" Laura sobbed, burying her face in her hands. "I know it was wrong, I know I hurt you, but it just happened. I never meant for it to go this far." "How long has this been going on?" I asked, my voice cold. She looked up at me, her eyes filled with guilt. "A few months. It started out as just talking, but then it became more." My heart sank. "So all those times you went for walks, all those late-night texts, it was all about him?" She nodded, unable to meet my gaze. "Yes." I stood up, pacing the room as I tried to process everything. "Do you love him?" "No," she said quickly. "I thought I did, but I don't. I love you, Mark. I love our family. I just felt so lost." "Love?" I scoffed, shaking my head. "If you loved me, you wouldn't have done this." Laura stood up, reaching out to me. "Please, Mark, give me a chance to make it right. For Lily's sake, let's try to work through this." I turned away, the pain too much to bear. "I don't know if I can," I said softly. "You've broken my trust. I don't know if we can ever get it back." She fell to her knees, sobbing uncontrollably. "I'm so sorry," she cried. "Please give me a chance to fix this." I closed my eyes, my heart heavy with sorrow. "I need time, Laura. I need to figure out what I want, what Lily needs. Right now, I can't even look at you without feeling this pain." She nodded, her sobs quieting. "I understand," she whispered. "I'll do whatever it takes to make it right." I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. "For now, I think it's best if you stay somewhere else. I need space to think." Laura looked up at me, her eyes filled with desperation. "Where will I go?" "I don't know," I said honestly, "but you need to find somewhere. I need time to process this, and Lily needs stability." She nodded, standing up slowly. "I'll go pack some things." As she walked up the stairs, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. The confrontation had been painful, but necessary. I had to protect myself and Lily, to ensure that our lives could find some semblance of normalcy again. When Laura came back down, she had a small bag packed. "I'll stay with a friend for now," she said quietly. "Please, Mark, think about giving us another chance." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. She walked out the door and I watched her go, feeling a mixture of sadness and relief. With Laura gone, the cabin felt emptier than ever. I sat down, my mind racing with thoughts of the future. I knew the road ahead would be difficult, but I also knew I had to stay strong for Lily. I had to protect her, to ensure she felt loved and secure despite the chaos that had entered our lives. The next morning, I contacted my lawyer again. "I want to move forward with the divorce," I said firmly. "I need to protect my daughter and myself." As I hung up the phone, I felt a sense of resolve. It was time to rebuild my life, to find a new path forward. The betrayal had cut deep, but I knew I had the strength to overcome it. For Lily's sake, and for my own, I had to keep moving forward. With Laura gone, the cabin felt emptier than ever. I spent the first few days in a fog, trying to wrap my head around everything that had happened. My thoughts were consumed with anger, sadness, and a sense of betrayal. But amidst the turmoil, I knew I had to stay strong for Lily. Lily was a bright, joyful child who deserved stability and love. I made it a point to spend as much time with her as possible, ensuring she felt secure despite the upheaval in our lives. We continued our weekend traditions of exploring the forest, having picnics by the lake, and teaching her about nature. Those moments with Lily were my anchor, grounding me in a time of uncertainty. I also started therapy, recognizing that I needed help processing my emotions and moving forward. My therapist, Dr. Stevens, was a compassionate woman who listened without judgment. She helped me navigate the complex emotions I was feeling, from the intense anger and betrayal to the deep sorrow and sense of loss. "Mark," Dr. Stevens said during one session. It's important to allow yourself to grieve. Your marriage meant a lot to you, and it's okay to mourn the loss. I nodded, wiping away tears. I just want to be strong for Lily. And you are, she reassured me. But being strong also means taking care of yourself. It's okay to feel hurt and to take the time you need to heal. Outside of therapy, I threw myself into my work. The forest, which had always been a place of solace, became even more important to me. I spent hours tending to the trails, checking on the wildlife and ensuring the forest remained healthy. Max, my loyal Labrador retriever, was always by my side, offering silent companionship. I also reconnected with old friends, reaching out for support and understanding. My best friend Tom was a constant presence, offering a listening ear and practical advice. You did the right thing, Mark, he said one evening over a beer. You've got to protect yourself and Lily. Laura made her choices, and now it's time for you to move forward. Laura, meanwhile, tried to reconcile. She sent messages and left voicemails, pleading for another chance. Mark, one message read, I know I messed up. Please, let's talk. I love you and Lily more than anything. But I couldn't bring myself to respond. The pain was still too fresh, the betrayal too deep. I needed space to heal, to figure out what was best for me and Lily. I focused on creating a stable environment for her, ensuring she felt loved and secure. As the weeks passed, the divorce proceedings moved forward. My lawyer, Mrs. Harris, was diligent and supportive, guiding me through the legal complexities. We worked together to ensure a favorable settlement, one that would protect Lily's future and provide a stable foundation for us. One evening, after putting Lily to bed, I sat down and reviewed the final settlement documents. It was a bittersweet moment, the end of a chapter that had once been filled with so much hope and love, but it was also a step towards a new beginning, a chance to rebuild and find happiness again. The day the divorce was finalized, I felt a mix of relief and sadness. I took a deep breath, letting the reality of it sink in. Laura and I were officially over. Our marriage, once a source of joy and comfort, was now a painful memory. But I knew I had to keep moving forward, for Lily and for myself. I invested more time in my relationship with Lily, making sure she felt supported and loved. We continued our weekend adventures, exploring new trails and discovering hidden corners of the forest. Those moments of connection and joy were a balm to my wounded heart. I also started exploring new hobbies, finding solace in activities that brought me joy. I took up photography, capturing the beauty of the forest and the changing seasons. I joined a local hiking group, meeting new people who shared my love for nature. These new experiences helped me rediscover parts of myself that had been lost in the turmoil of the past months. Through it all, I remained focused on personal growth. Therapy sessions with Dr. Stevens continued to be a crucial part of my healing process. She helped me navigate the complex emotions I was feeling, providing tools and strategies to cope with the pain and move forward. One day, during a particularly tough session, she said something that resonated deeply with me. Mark, she said, healing isn't a linear process. There will be good days and bad days. What's important is that you keep moving forward, even if it's just one small step at a time. I nodded, her words echoing in my mind long after the session ended. I knew she was right. Healing would take time, but I was determined to keep moving forward, to rebuild my life and find happiness again. As the months went by, I began to see glimpses of a brighter future. Lily and I grew closer, our bond stronger than ever. The forest, once a place of solace, now felt like a sanctuary. And as I continued to explore new hobbies and make new friends, I felt a renewed sense of purpose and joy. The journey was far from over, but I knew I had the strength to overcome the challenges ahead. For Lily's sake, and for my own, I would keep moving forward, one step at a time. The betrayal had cut deep, but it had also shown me the importance of resilience and self-respect. And with each passing day, I grew more confident that a hopeful and fulfilling future was within reach. The day the divorce was finalized felt like the closing of a heavy door. I sat in my lawyer's office signing the final documents and felt a mix of relief and sadness. Mrs. Harris, my lawyer, offered a kind smile. This is a big step, Mark. You did the right thing. I nodded, taking a deep breath. Thank you for everything. Leaving her office, I felt a strange sense of freedom. The weight of the past month seemed to lift slightly, replaced by a cautious optimism. I was officially starting a new chapter, one where I could rebuild and find happiness again. Back at the cabin, I focused on creating a loving and stable environment for Lily. Our weekend adventures continued, and we spent more time exploring the forest, discovering new trails, and deepening our bond. Lily's laughter and joy were a constant reminder of what truly mattered. I also invested in my own well-being. I continued therapy sessions with Dr. Stevens, who helped me navigate the complex emotions of post-divorce life. "Remember, Mark," she often said, "it's okay to take things one day at a time." I also reconnected with old friends and made an effort to build a support network. My best friend Tom remained a steady presence, offering encouragement and understanding. "You're doing great, Mark," he said one evening as we hiked together. "You've come a long way." I started taking up new hobbies and activities that brought me joy. Photography became a passion, and I spent hours capturing the beauty of the forest and the changing seasons. Each photograph felt like a step towards healing, a way to find beauty in the midst of pain. I also joined a local hiking group, meeting new people who shared my love for nature. The camaraderie and shared experiences helped me feel less alone and more connected to the community. As time passed, I began to notice a shift in myself. The pain of Laura's betrayal was still there, but it no longer defined me. I found moments of peace and happiness, moments where I felt genuinely content. It was a slow process, but I could see the progress I was making. One sunny afternoon, Lily and I were hiking a new trail when she suddenly stopped and looked up at me. "Daddy," she said, her eyes bright. "I'm glad we're spending so much time together. I love our adventures." I smiled, feeling a warmth spread through my chest. "I love them too, sweetheart." We continued our hike, and I felt a deep sense of gratitude. Despite the challenges and heartache, I had the opportunity to create a new life, one filled with love and connection. Lily was thriving, and our bond was stronger than ever. As the months turned into a year, I felt more confident in my new life. I had learned to navigate the ups and downs, to find joy in the little things, and to focus on what truly mattered. Lily and I were building a future together, one step at a time. Laura, meanwhile, had moved on as well. She tried to reconnect a few times, asking if we could talk about what had happened. But I declined. The pain was still too fresh, and I needed to focus on my own healing and Lily's well-being. Laura respected my decision and gradually stopped reaching out. One day, as I was reviewing some of my photographs, I realized how much I had grown. The images captured not just the beauty of the forest, but also the journey I had been on. Each photo was a testament to my resilience and determination to move forward. I decided to share my photographs with the local community, organizing a small exhibition at the town hall. The response was overwhelming, with friends and neighbors coming to see my work and offering words of support and encouragement. It was a humbling experience, one that reinforced the sense of community and connection I had been building. Through it all, I remained focused on personal growth and self-care. Therapy continued to be a crucial part of my journey, helping me process my emotions and stay grounded. Dr. Stevens' guidance and support were invaluable, providing me with the tools and strategies I needed to navigate the challenges of post-divorce life. As the seasons changed, I found myself looking forward to the future with hope and excitement. Lily and I continued our adventures, exploring new trails and discovering hidden corners of the forest. Our bond was unbreakable, and I knew that together we could face anything that came our way. One evening, as we sat by the fireplace, Lily looked up at me and smiled. "Daddy, I love our life. I'm so happy we're together." I hugged her tightly, feeling a deep sense of contentment. "I love our life too, sweetheart, and I promise, no matter what, we'll always be together." The journey had been difficult, but I had come out stronger and more resilient. I had learned the importance of self-respect and the value of personal growth. Most importantly, I had discovered that happiness and fulfillment were within my reach, as long as I stayed true to myself and focused on what truly mattered. With Lily by my side and a renewed sense of purpose, I looked forward to the future with hope and determination. The path ahead was uncertain, but I knew that we would navigate it together, one step at a time. The betrayal had cut deep, but it had also shown me the strength and resilience I possessed. And with each passing day, I grew more confident that a hopeful and fulfilling future was within reach.